Well, welcome everyone to the Bowling University studio from the International Bowling Campus here in Arlington, Texas. I'm Bart Berger, and I'll be your host for this edition of the Bowling University Profit Break. Thank you all for joining us. Now, our mission here at the university is to enrich people's lives personally and professionally, and the Profit Break is an opportunity for sharing insights on how to grow revenue, reduce costs, enrich yourself, your team, and your business. Now, if you're joining the Profit Break for the first time, welcome. We are glad you're here. Give us 15 minutes, and you're going to be well on your way to improving your profitability. Now, today, I'm excited to be joined by Mr. Rob Betzel, who has been an entrepreneur since he was 23. Now, he's currently the CEO and founder of Grit Consulting. They help leadership teams get results through proven business processes, coaching, and leadership development. Now, Rob is living his perfect EOS life by helping other entrepreneurs get what they want from their business. He's a professional implementer for the Entrepreneur Operating System, or EOS, which we're going to talk about today, and also a Judgment Index certified consultant. I have to figure out what that means. So, Rob, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us.
Thank you for having me, Bart. Excited to be here.
Yeah, well, look, we're looking forward to having you with us in January at our Bowling Summit in Savannah. But I know you're new to our industry, and our folks are meeting you for the first time. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so great. Again, thanks for the introduction. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur, grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, love small business, ran an IT company for 20 years. And like many small business owners, I have had many struggles. As we developed the business and we grew it, my brother and I were business partners. So I had the family dynamic. I had just the dynamic of growing a small business in a small community, and did the typical entrepreneurial thing as we grew it and sort of had it slide back some. And over time, finally found the right sort of secret sauce to grow that business. Got very fortunate to actually be able to sell that business to another organization that continues to grow it today. And that has allowed me to pivot into currently where I am, which is helping 500 entrepreneurial leadership teams over the next 10 years get what they want from their business.
Well, I love the fact that you mentioned family and small business, because you are speaking our language, you're speaking to our folks. Now, before we jump into the EOS, which is really the topic we want to talk about, I have to know, what is a Judgment Index certified consultant? Does a robe come with that or something, or a card? I mean, what is that?
I wish. No robes, but I'm a big fan of really being good stewards of the people that choose to walk alongside me in my businesses. And I've worked with a number of different tools, whether it be DISC or Colby or Briggs Myers, to help me better understand how the people that work with me communicate and engage in things. But where I was missing for years was the idea of how do people make decisions? What is their judgment vectors? And so I discovered a tool, came to be taught about a tool called the Judgment Index that uses value-based decision-making to help you understand the judgment of the people that work with you and around you. And so I loved it so much that I went out and became certified consultant with them. And so I used that as part of the tool set to help leaders really understand how to lead the people that have chosen to join them better.
Good. Thank you for that. I just had to know. I've heard of a lot of measuring tools, a lot of tools like that. First time exposed to that term there. So thank you. So let's get to the topic at hand. You mentioned you've been an entrepreneur for a long time. You and your brother started out. So how were you exposed to the EOS process?
Gosh, I think probably like a lot of entrepreneurs, right? As I said, we built our business at almost 20 years of running the business. In this first 10, 12 years, I did everything that entrepreneurs do as mistakes. I grew a team without good direction. I would hire people without good consideration. I would fire them when they didn't read my mind, and ultimately just was frustrated and was part of a peer group, which I love these kind of associations of peer groups, because that's what I was part of. And my peer group had told me, said, you really should go read this book, Traction. And so I left one of my quarterly meetings where I was probably in Dallas, Texas, or something like that, and came home and bought the book and read it, and realized that I really was overcomplicating the process of running my business successfully. And quite frankly, as most entrepreneurs, I was the bottleneck in the problem. And so I convinced my leadership team to actually implement EOS and have it build our business better. And when I learned to embrace that and to focus on my unique abilities while letting the rest of my team do the same thing, our company became a lot more fun to be part of. It was more profitable, more successful. Ultimately, it is the reason we were able to achieve an exit At 45 years old, I actually hit the numbers and the dates that I'd written on a napkin when I was 23 years old. So absolutely secret sauce for us.
Yeah, well, that is amazing. Congratulations to that. So you now then are in this next chapter. You formed your own consulting firm with the EOS model, and you mentioned that you're living your perfect EOS life. I mean, share that vision, but what is that?
Yeah, so Gino Wickman, who wrote Traction and ultimately founded EOS Worldwide, which is now over 450 implementers like myself around the country that are leveraging the tools and resources from Traction using the Entrepreneur Operating System. Ultimately, my EOS life, it comes from a concept that Gino really wants everyone to live their perfect life, right? It's doing what you love with people you love, having time for other passions, being compensated fairly. And so, I took that concept as I was able to exit my business and really rethought my life and my focus. And so my perfect life is I give 100 days to my family. I have 2 young daughters. So the first 100 days of my year, planning that year out, go to being at every sporting event, every school conference and event the children want, taking the right number of vacations with my wife and my children. The second 100 days are my 100 days of profit. So I allow myself to work 100 session days a year. I give 100 days to my community. I know I am a midget standing on the shoulders of giants, and so I want to help my community the way people helped me previously. And I used to stop there, and someone one day challenged me and said, well, what do you do with the other 65 days? And I finally realized, I get to do what I want with those. So I live my perfect 100, 100, 165-day life, and it so far has been a blessing to me and my family. I'm getting to be present for my children. It's a blessing to be able to be profitable with other business people and really just being able to invest back in my community, entrepreneurs, civic groups, and other organizations here that help my community here locally be what's an amazing city to live in.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that, Rob. And I love that. What a great example for others. But in order to get there, you've got to kind of put this EOS process to work. And that's where you come in. You're going to be with us at the summit in January in Savannah. And you're going to share that without giving too much away of what you're going to in the deep dive. For our viewers today, can you share a little bit about what is the EOS process?
Right. So we believe that ultimately, we bring 3 things to entrepreneurs. We bring vision, traction, and healthy. We bring clarity of where you want your organization to go through a well-documented vision. We want you to have traction by executing on the right things at the right time in your business. And then we want you to become a healthier, more cohesive, and fun-loving leadership team and ultimately organization. And so we bring those 3 things to you through the EOS model, which ultimately is as a concept of delivering around 6 key components. We wrestle with 362 things every single day as entrepreneurs, and we just help you compartmentalize those different things, those multitude of things, into 6 key areas. Your vision: do you know where you're going? Does everybody understand it? Your people: do you have the right people in the right seat? Do you have the right data? I love to say, if you're going to use an opinion, use mine. Otherwise, let's use data. Your issues, understanding what the right issues to solve at the right time are, developing really consistent and well-documented, followed process. That is one of the most incredible things that a business can do, is document what they do well so that everyone does it the same way. And then ultimately, again, that traction piece. Are we setting the right priorities? Are we having the right kind of meetings? So ultimately, when I'm with you guys in January, my goal is actually to run a workshop for you. So anybody attends my session, this is not going to be a talk at you. It's going to be a talk with you, and we're going to take a dive into each of those 6 key components, showing you the 1 or 2 critical tools out of each of those that ultimately will let you leave using those tools that day to be a better entrepreneur, to be a better leader, ultimately to have a better, more profitable business, which is the end goal of all of our businesses.
Yeah, and I love the fact you mentioned we're going to take a deep dive together on those 6 principles, take it to the next level there. I love the book. Thank you, Traction. It was my weekend read before we gathered together here, so it was great. I'm new in my EOS journey, but I am with you. I understand, and I'm excited to learn more there. So let's get to the end of this, right? We put some of these practices into place. We're with you. We study this. Can you share some examples maybe of how some other small businesses have put this into practice and how it impacted them?
Yeah, so I'm blessed to work with businesses from IT companies to plastic surgeons and chiropractic firms to service businesses like marketing firms to manufacturers. So I've seen a wide range of businesses, but ultimately I think what the examples I would give you is too often the vision is in the entrepreneur or maybe a couple of leaders' heads and not articulated well. And so it's amazing when you walk into a business and everyone is singing from the same hymn book about where the business is going and how they contribute to it. I think another example is when people all of a sudden have the right data to assess their business versus the wrong data or no data, they really get to the chance of really understanding how to turn the knobs to run their businesses more profitably. And then I think the other side I would tell you is too often we suffer the wrong people in our organization, those that don't share our core values, or we suffer the right people in the wrong seat. They're great colleagues and team members, but they're just not doing the right job. And so I've seen everything around getting the wrong people out, the right people in, get them in the right seat, tracking the right data, everyone pulling in one direction. All of those things just come out of just the process we go through. And so I've seen small marketing firms scale their way to multiple millions of dollars. I've seen manufacturing firms survive economic downturns. I've seen plastic surgery practices grow and thrive during a pandemic, all because they focused and did the right things well. We always say do less better. And so we get really good at saying this is what we've got to do well, and we do that and that only. And so, there are over 12,000 companies that currently work with EOS implementers throughout the world. We say there are probably over 120,000 businesses using some amount of the EOS principles. So we know this makes a massive impact across the world at all different scales and sizes of business.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I was recently in Minnesota at a meeting visiting with fellow proprietors, and I happened to say something, and after reading the book that you were gracious enough to send me, and he said, "Is that from Gino? Have you read Traction?" And I said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I'm learning. I'm young. I'm young in my journey trying to understand it. So I can't recite it to you yet. But yes, that's where I got that quote from there in doing that. There's."
Yeah, it does almost become a little bit of a cult in that sense that you'll say words that resonate with another EOS run company and they'll kind of go, hey, and I think that creates a connection in business to business. So when you're talking to other business leaders in that same vernacular, using that same kind of focus, it's amazing. The clients that I have that serve other businesses that then work with other EOS run businesses, it makes things run so much more smoothly, even between the partners that are both on it. So absolutely, yeah, you probably can't go very far before running into some EOS run company that is passionately pursuing their dream.
Yeah, well, I threw out the buzzword. I mentioned the accountability chart just to see if he was real, and he was. So once we had that secret buzzword, so if you want to learn about the accountability chart, folks, you got to make sure you join Rob and all the great tactics he's going to share with us. So, Rob, before we let you go today, I've got one final question there. I know that, of course, we want everyone to come see you in January at Summit, but we know that for some of the viewers today, they're not going to be able to get away. Any kind of a little sneak peek or a concept or a practical tool that maybe you can share with us today that folks could put into practice a piece of it?
Yeah, I think if I had to get you to do one thing, like walk away today and do one simple thing, I think it is begin a meeting rhythm that is effective, right? An agenda-driven meeting rhythm that is appropriate for your size of organization, where you actually solve problems. So there's a level 10 agenda that's in the book Traction. You can find it on the EOS Worldwide's website. Just getting down to the principle of meeting at a given frequency with your fellow leaders, those people who help you run your business as an entrepreneur, and letting them contribute to solving problems. Stop being the person telling them how to do everything. Get them to begin to be part of the solutions. And what you'll find is that they begin to take on more and more, and they allow you to focus on more critical things. So starting a meeting rhythm, what we call a level 10 meeting, would be my number one tool that anybody who wants to pick up the book, thumb to a chapter, and do something simple, I'd start there and then go from there in regards to developing your vision and the rest of the accountability chart and everything else.
Awesome. Great tip. Level 10 meeting. It's on the US website. You can get into the book Traction. If you want to know more, you make sure you join us in January to see you, Rob. Well, Rob, it was a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you again so much. We look forward to seeing you in January.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, hey, folks, remember, if you'd like to get a grip on your business, Rob will be one of our featured speakers at our Bowling Summit in Savannah, Georgia this January. Rob's Learning Lab, EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System, will be taking place on Monday, January 16th, 9:45 a.m., and you are not going to want to miss it. So as we wrap up another edition of the Bowling University Profit Break, remember that when your focus is on growing people, people will grow your business. We look forward to seeing you next time for another great episode. Now, if you have any questions about today's show or would like additional information, you can reach us anytime at education@bpaa.com. Also, you and your team can watch any of our previous episodes 24/7 by visiting bowlinguniversity.net. The Profit Break is content available when you want it, and we have new episodes premiering every month. Until then, I'm Bart Berger, and remember, do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. We'll see you next time.